Good evening, everybody. I'm 68 years old, and before anybody says it, I'm not old. I'm just tired. There's a difference. Old people have wisdom. I have experience. And most of my experience is knowing exactly what I shouldn't do, because I've already done it. At 25, I thought I knew everything. At 40, I realized I knew nothing. At 55, I thought I was becoming wise. At 68, I just want everybody to stop asking me to help with things. That's my definition of happiness now. A quiet house, a comfortable chair, a cup of coffee, and nobody saying, "Can you help me with something?" Because I've learned something. When somebody says, "Can you help me with something?" it is never something. It's a project. Morning. My day starts early, not because I'm productive, because my bladder has become my alarm clock. I wake up at 5:47 every morning. I don't even set an alarm anymore. My bladder says, "Good morning." I say, "It's too early." It says, "That's not my problem." I get out of bed. And at my age, getting out of bed requires planning. I don't just stand up. I sit there for a minute. I move my feet. I stretch my back. I look around. I'm basically checking whether the body is going to cooperate. Then I stand. And something cracks. And you just freeze. You don't know what made the noise. You don't investigate. You wait. If the pain arrives, you know. If it doesn't, you continue your day. That's how medical science works at my house. The shower. The shower is now one of the most dangerous places in my home. When you're young, you think, "I'm afraid of driving." No. At 68, I'm afraid of soap. One little piece of soap hits the floor, and suddenly you're in an action movie. Except there's no stunt double. You slip and think, "Okay, this is serious." My wife hears the noise. She runs in. "What happened?" I slipped. "Are you okay?" "Yes." "Can you stand?" "I think so." She looks at me. Then she says, "Well, don't move." I said, "Thank you." She said, "I'm getting the phone." Not the first aid kit, the phone. That's confidence. Coffee. Coffee is very important in my house. Coffee isn't a drink anymore. It's a personality transplant. Before coffee, I don't want to communicate. After coffee, I'm willing to negotiate. My wife understands this. We've been married 39 years. She knows not to talk to me before coffee. One morning she walked into the kitchen and said, "Good morning." I looked at her. She looked at me. She said, "Sorry." Then she walked away. That's a successful marriage. You learn each other's operating instructions. Marriage. We've been married 39 years. People ask me, what is the secret to a long marriage? Easy. Don't try to win every argument. Sometimes you just say, "You're right," even when she's wrong. Especially when she's wrong. Because being right is temporary. Peace is valuable. My wife once said, "You never listen to me." I said, "That's not true." She said, "What did I just say?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "Exactly." That's the problem with marriage. Sometimes you accidentally prove their point. The remote. We have one remote control. One. And somehow this tiny piece of plastic controls the emotional stability of the entire household. My wife watches television differently than I do. I want to watch something. She wants to look for something. She scrolls. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Do you want to watch this? No. Scroll. Maybe this? No. Scroll. Here's something interesting. What is it? I don't know. Then why are we watching the trailer? We've spent 45 minutes searching for something to watch. Finally, I say, let's just watch the news. She says, I don't want to watch the news. I say, then what do you want? She says, I don't know. That's when you realize the remote isn't the problem. The remote is just the hostage negotiator. Grocery shopping. My wife sends me to the grocery store. She says, just get 5 things. 5 things.
I can handle 5 things. She writes a list. Milk, bread, eggs, coffee, chicken. Perfect. I walk into the supermarket like a professional. I get the milk, bread, eggs, coffee, chicken. I'm finished. Then I see something on sale. I think, my wife likes that. Into the cart. Then another thing. Into the cart. Then I see a giant package of something I have never eaten. It says, family size. I don't even know the family, but it's 50% off. Into the cart. I get home. My wife looks in the bags. She says, where's the bread? I say, what? The bread. I bought bread. No, you didn't. I look in the bags. No bread. I bought everything except the one thing I was sent to buy. That's not shopping. That's a scavenger hunt with financial consequences. Self-checkout. And I hate self-checkout. I didn't apply for this job. I came here to buy groceries. Now I'm working for the supermarket. I scan an item. The machine says, unexpected item in bagging area. I say, it's a banana. The machine says, please wait for assistance. Why? The banana isn't doing anything suspicious. An employee walks over. She touches the screen. Everything works. I say, thank you. She says, no problem. No problem? You just saved me from a banana. I'm 68 years old. I survived raising children. I survived marriage. I survived the economy. And a banana almost took me down. Money. Money is different when you're older. When you're 25, how much does it cost? $100. Fine. At 68, how much? $100. For what? A toaster. Does it toast? Yes. Then why is it $100? Everything is expensive now. My wife says, we need to save money. I say, absolutely. Then I buy a tool I don't need because it's on sale. She says, why did you buy that? I say, it was $40. She says, you spent $40. I say, yes. She says, on something you don't need. I say, but it was $40 instead of $60. She stares at me. I say, I saved $20. She says, you spent $40 to save $20. I say, exactly. She says, that isn't saving. I say, this is why I don't do the accounting. The garage. My garage is full of tools. Some of them are 30 years old. I don't know what half of them do, but I keep them, because one day I'll need them. That's the male brain. My wife says, you haven't used that in 15 years. I say, that's exactly why I still have it. She says, what does it do? I don't remember. Then throw it away. No. Why? Because the minute we throw it away, I'll need it. She laughs. The next day I need it. I walk into the garage. It's gone. I look at my wife. She says, don't. I say, I wasn't going to say anything. She says, you were. I say, I was going to blame the universe. She says, blame the universe quietly. Adult children. My children are adults now. That's strange. When they were little, I knew everything. Dad, how does this work? I knew. Dad, what should I do? I knew. Dad, why is the sky blue? I had an answer. Now they're adults.
And suddenly they know everything. My son called me last week. Dad, you need to update your phone. I said, why? Your software is outdated. I said, son, yes? I changed your diapers. Silence. Then he said, that was before smartphones. Kids today have an answer for everything. Passwords. Technology is designed to make older people angry. Every website wants a password, and every password needs one capital letter, one lowercase letter, one number, one symbol, no spaces, cannot be your name, cannot be your birthday, cannot be a previous password. At this point, I'm not creating a password. I'm entering the witness protection program. Then the website says, please create a password you will remember. I can't remember why I walked into the kitchen. You want me to remember Q7 exclamation point XR $91KLM2? Absolutely. Then, never write your password down. Fine, I'll forget it. Then there's the button, Forgot password? Yes, finally, a website understands me.
My phone thinks I'm dying. My phone knows everything. I searched, why does my knee hurt? Now every advertisement is for seniors. Compression socks, walkers, insurance, hearing aids, funeral services. I searched one question. The internet basically said, would you like to pre-plan your funeral? I said, no. Then the phone showed me an ad for a cemetery. Now I'm offended. I don't even know who gave the internet permission to panic. The doctor. My doctor says I need to exercise. I said, I walk. He said, how much? I said, every day. He said, how far? I said, from the couch to the refrigerator. He didn't laugh. Doctors don't appreciate honesty. He said, you need at least 30 minutes of exercise. I said, I already spend 30 minutes trying to find my glasses. He said, that's not exercise. I said, have you seen me looking for them? That's cardio. Glasses. I lose my glasses constantly. I'll say, where are my glasses? My wife says, where did you last have them?
I say, if I knew that, that's why I'm asking. I look everywhere. Kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, garage. Finally, my wife walks over. She says, they're on your face. I say, I knew that. She says, then why were you looking for them? I say, I wanted to make sure you knew. That's marriage. Grandchildren. I love my grandchildren, but they are expensive. My grandson asked, Grandpa, can I have $20? I said, what for? Something. What something? I don't know yet. That's actually a good business model. Ask for money before deciding what to buy. I said, when I was your age, $20 lasted a long time. He said, when was that? I said, 1985. He said, Grandpa. What? That's ancient history. Ancient history? I was alive. Apparently, I'm now a historical source. Retirement. Retirement was supposed to be relaxing. That's what they told me. Retirement is freedom. Absolutely. Freedom to do all the things your family doesn't want to do. The moment I retired, everybody suddenly needed me. My son, Dad, can you help me move? My daughter, Dad, can you watch the kids? My wife, can you paint the bedroom? The neighbor, can you give me a ride? Nobody asks, are you busy? Because I'm retired. Apparently that means I'm unemployed, therefore available. The afternoon nap. I love naps. At 68, a nap isn't laziness. It's preventative maintenance. I tell my wife, I'm going to take a short nap. She says, for how long? 20 minutes. I wake up 3 hours later. I don't know where I am. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what year it is. My wife says,
"You've been asleep for 3 hours." I say, "That's impossible." She says, "Why?" I say, "I just closed my eyes." She says, "3 hours ago." I say, "Well." Apparently, I needed to update. What matters? But you know what? Getting older isn't all bad. You start appreciating simple things. A good cup of coffee, a comfortable chair, a quiet morning, a good meal. Your kids calling just to say hello. Your grandchildren laughing. An old friend you haven't talked to in months, and your wife sitting beside you after 39 years. Even if she's still telling you you're wrong. You realize those are the things that matter. Not the expensive car, not the perfect house, not impressing people. Just having somebody beside you who knows all your flaws and still chooses to stay. Although sometimes, I think my wife stays because she doesn't want to train somebody else. People ask me, "Are you afraid of getting old?" No, I'm afraid of getting old without my wife. She's been beside me for 39 years. She knows every mistake I've made, every stupid decision, every embarrassing story, every password. That's why I can never get divorced. She knows too much. If we ever separate, we're not going to court. We're going straight to classified information. She'd say, "I know what you did in 1998. I'd say, "Fine." She'd say, "I know how much you paid for that tool." I'd say, "Okay, let's calm down." She'd say, "I know you ate the last piece of cake." I'd say, "Now you're making accusations." So, yeah, I'm 68. I'm not old. I'm just tired. Tired of technology, tired of passwords, tired of expensive groceries, tired of doctors, tired of my children asking for help, tired of my wife being right, and especially tired of people saying, "Enjoy your retirement." Because retirement isn't relaxing. It's just having enough free time for everybody else to give you something to do. But I've figured out the secret. When somebody asks, "Can you help me with something?" you say, "Absolutely." Then you walk away. Because by the time they find you, you'll be taking a nap. And if they ask where you are, tell them, "I'm at the hardware store." That's what I always tell my wife. She thinks I need something. I don't. I'm just hiding. Because after 39 years of marriage, I've learned the most important rule of all. A happy man isn't a man who has no problems. He's a man who knows when to pretend he didn't hear them. Thank you, everybody. You've been fantastic. Drive safe. Take care of yourselves. And remember, if something hurts when you stand up, don't sit back down to check. Just keep walking. Good night.